Hi everyone. I have two major hobbies at the moment, writing computer games and viewing outer space. This is a picture I recently took of the moon and Mars in conjunction, and both of these arose from bad circumstances. I started writing computer games my last year at school because I had a year before that I had a turbulent relationship. I had a girl who was taking advantage of me, and then not long after that, my grandpa passed away. And to get over all of that, I started writing some computer games. Let's see if we can get a simulation on here. Let's quit out of these. A lot of these are doing machine learning, so we gotta temporarily pause it to run a simulation so I can show you guys how the game looks like. But I started writing games to get over my grandpa passing away. At the time, I was kind of taking a hiatus off of dating because of the situation I had when I was at school. So normally I probably would have gotten involved in dating if I had a situation like that. But at the time, those were different circumstances. So I started writing computer games. This is a game I wrote called Breakthrough. It's going to take a few moments to load because some of these have very large data files that it has to load. On this one particular uses up 64 gigabytes of RAM, and this is why I'm running it on an MSI. Let me see if we can zoom out on the machine. Okay, so let's say we go first, and let's give it 10 seconds. And the object of the game is to get one of your pieces to the back rank. So usually a D7 to D6 is a good move. Computer's going to think for 10 seconds like how I instructed it to. And we can zoom in to see it's kind of hard to see the numbers. So the computer is claiming to think 16 moves ahead, and it thinks it's behind by 0.1, so no, that won't make a whole lot of sense unless I give a lot of background information. But it thinks it's behind because the first player has a significant advantage in this game. Anyways, getting back to the story, I started writing computer games to get over Grandpa passing away, and I have developed a lot of my computer programming skill doing this over the last 7 years, and more importantly, I've networked with a lot of people in the field, and so that's good. My other hobby of viewing outer space also came about because of sorry about that. So my other hobby of viewing outer space also arose from an unpleasant situation, if you will. At the time I was living out of my car, and I don't know if some people sensed that I was living out of the car. The places that I go to frequently when I was living in the car, like the shopping mall, Starbucks, the local library, they probably knew. Not because I was dressed in a certain way or anything like that, or not because I told people, but just because of the frequency of which I went to those places. And, some people just have a general distaste of such circumstances. And the shopping mall that I used to frequently go to, the employees, or one of the employees at least, I shouldn't generalize, one of the employees had a distaste to that, and he would always give me trouble. And eventually I lost it with him, and I got into a heated argument with him, and I got banned from the shopping mall. Fortunately, the ban is expiring soon. I really don't want to go back anyway, but at least it'll be one less worry. So, at least sometimes, if people want to meet with me up there, I probably don't want to be spending any money there anymore, given how they treated me back in the day. But after I got banned from that shopping mall, the first thing I did was to get a very high-definition camera, and I started viewing outer space. I live in a suburb of Seattle called Redmond. It's kind of hard to view outer space from the location I am in because of the pollution, both in terms of light pollution and in terms of air pollution, but also in terms of spatial pollution as well. You got a lot of high-rise buildings. If you have something that's only a few degrees above the horizon, forget about it, right? Like viewing Venus, or even especially Mercury, but even Venus, right? Or viewing the early and late phases of the moon, forget about it. You're not going to do that easily from Redmond. Usually day 1 or day 29, the moon you can't really see here. Venus you can see only about half of the year. Even day 2 and day 28 of the moon are a little bit tricky sometimes, depending on the season of the year. So sometimes I like to drive out to Ellensburg, or at least to North Bend, to get some of these photographs. Hopefully at the end of this year I'll make a slideshow of all the photographs I've taken over the year. But I really think the higher powers are looking out for me when one of these situations happen that allows for me to develop myself. You know, had I not gotten kicked out of that shopping mall, you know, had I not had the experience with the girl, you know, my parents are always upset that I got into the situation with the girl. But you know what? I am not myself today without that girl. I know it sounds a little bit unusual to speak of it that way. Oh, even though I almost dropped out of school, even though I lost my life savings at that point to that girl. Oh, even though that I probably would lose a whole lot more if I never met her. Oh, and I'm being very sincere about that. When I was working on my PhD, somebody stole my laptop computer. It wasn't one like this. It was something a whole lot cheaper than this. It was only actually, let's see if we can pull that up. It was, I think it was in ASUS. Yeah. Somebody stole a laptop I had that looked kind of like this one. And I don't think they stole it for resale. I mean, you can get $10 for it on a lucky day. I think what likely happened was somebody knew me and wanted to stir some trouble with me. I likely lost it while I was on campus, you know, and people know that I am, you know, we have a lot of competition with grades. You know, grades are usually curved in school. You know, if you can sabotage your classmate, that could help, right? But I was working on a research problem, a field called computational social choice theory, and for some reason I forgot to back up my files for several weeks. And somebody stole my laptop, and then I realized, oh my god, everything is 3 weeks old. And I had to see my advisor the next day, and I went into a panic. And so I was pumping with adrenaline, obviously. Somehow I managed to get a new laptop, even though it was midnight. You know, the stores were closed. I managed to find somebody at Craigslist to answer the ad. I got the laptop, and I came up with an even better result. Funny thing is, I went back to my advisor the following day, and she had no idea all this had transpired. She just realized that I stayed up all night to write this result, and she was very upset. She was like, I don't want you to have huge medical bills. I mean, the result is nice, but get some sleep, please. I don't want you to have medical bills. You know, because obviously they're paying for my insurance. They don't want their group insurance rates to go up, whatever. She kind of said it jokingly, obviously. But that's great. That's great. Because my advisor used to hate when I would do personal things. She would think that I was wasting time that I could be doing all my research. But after that event, she realized that sometimes the other personal things help me recharge to do research. She used to think that concept was a joke. It's kind of funny because she came from Germany, and you would think Germans don't have that kind of attitude. That's an American or maybe a Japanese attitude to have, right? That people never need to recharge, right? So it's kind of interesting. Well, she works around a lot of Asians, so that's probably why. I had another incident that allowed me to capture this picture. That's why I keep showing it up. I am working at a university right now, and earlier this week, I hate to say where I'm working because I have an enemy on Craigslist who we got into a little bit of a disagreement over a scam that he tried to pull off on me, and it sounds like he wants to cause revenge. And he called my manager from a previous job and caused a whole lot of embarrassment. Fortunately, I was about to leave that job anyway, but it caused a significant amount of embarrassment. That's why I'm hesitating to say where I'm working. But anyways, at my workplace, I got into a disagreement with a coworker who complained about me repeatedly. And the problem is that he and also his manager that he complained to, they don't speak very fluent English. So every time one of these complaints comes around, I try to defend myself. Sometimes I'm not even involved in it. Sometimes it's a misunderstanding. And every time I try to point it out, I can't get through with them. It almost made me want to learn Spanish, and I learned a few words of Spanish as a result, which is nice. I mean, I'm probably never going to speak Spanish fluently, but the fact that they got me curious enough to learn a few words, I always like a little treat like that, so it was good. But I got so worked up. I went out to my car and I drove straight to Ellensburg without thinking about it because I was so worked up. I wanted to get out of Redmond. You know, if I had a rocket, I would have gone to Mars. That's how stressed out I was. And then I got this picture of the moon. Here's the moon and Mars. There's a few more pictures that I got at different resolutions and different zooms, and then the background stars. I always like to get these conjunctions together with the background stars if I can. I'm really saddened to see that I'll probably never see another transit of Venus. I had a good time viewing it back in 2012. I'll probably see a few transits of Mercury, obviously. Maybe someday I'll see a transit of Earth from Mars or Jupiter. Well, I guess the only way I could see a transit of Venus is if I fly somewhere where I happen to be behind Venus. Maybe that will be one way I get to re-experience that again. I'm more hopeful of that than to see it in 2117. But anyways, I just think it's important to realize that when these bad situations happen, that the higher powers are looking out for you, and that usually there's a good reason for them to happen. Thanks for watching.